So, good evening, folks. Welcome to the Board of Selectmen's meeting, September 2nd. And for the public comment, let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of Allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So, thank you, folks, again. Is there any public comments?
I have one, Andy.
Okay, just state your name for the record, please.
Kim Libby,
Thank you.
and it's a comment, but it's also potentially a suggestion.
Mm-hmm.
I've been made aware that there are quite a few people in Milton and Milton Mills that are not aware of the change of location for voting.
Mm-hmm.
So I had mentioned it on the website, and they were gonna try and get more information out to people. My suggestion is if we could put one of those boards out the day of election at the church where we used to have the voting, just saying to people, it's gonna be at the high school, so in case somebody drives down, because you don't want somebody driving down and going, well, I'm not gonna bother to vote. So that was my suggestion, and the other thing was signage for the high school. GPS still will tell you to go up and to be able to go in towards the library entrance, but now that we have the signs that's one way, there's really no signage saying how to get to the high school. You know, go up to the elementary and take a left and then take a right. So that's something that I just wanted to mention.
Okay.
That was it.
All right, thank you. We'll take that under consideration. I think we've already talked about that, but I appreciate it. Okay, so up next is the workshop session, the engineering cost proposal discussion for wastewater treatment facility. Dale Sprague and the representatives from Wright Pearson Engineering. So you're up, Dale.
Okay. Well, thank you for having us back tonight. Last week's meeting, you wanted Wright Pearson to come back with some explanations, maybe some cost adjustments or whatever to their proposal. Mike is here. He was here originally, a month ago, whatever. We had the initial engineers. You went through and heard their pitch and everything, so Mike was here then. I've talked to him a little bit about what you guys are kind of looking for, so he's here tonight to make his presentation to you. You can ask him whatever questions you feel free, and I'm sure he can answer. He's got some numbers for you and some explanations, so.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, one of the items that Dale had mentioned to me is that he wanted to better understand a breakdown of our fee, our proposed fee that was included in the qualification statement. The first page, since price is always the most important, I've just summarized a task by task cost of what we were proposing to do, what we had in our proposal. To support that is a 3-page draft document of a detailed scope of work that obviously you're not gonna review here in a short amount of time, but it does provide supporting backup for where those costs came from. And Dale had mentioned we weren't the cheapest proposal, and what potential cost saving measures we could have in our scope of work or a fee to maybe not, reduce the cost to the town a little bit. Dale and I had talked, we had generally divided the work up into 2 phases. The primary purpose for the 2 phases is that you have really 2 purposes for this facility plan. Phase 1, address your immediate needs. You have a letter from the state of New Hampshire DES that calls for an action plan. That we consider an immediate need that the town would need to expend monies and respond to New Hampshire DES in a timely manner. Phase 2 is a more comprehensive facility plan, a document that would serve the town for major wastewater decisions into the future, including potential capital improvements. Because of the immediate needs, Phase 1, we had recommended be paid for with local cash. Phase 2, through either funding through New Hampshire DES SRF program or the USDA Rural Development Program, we feel a part or the entirety of Phase 2 can be funded externally, so not an impact on the town. USDA will offer up to $30,000 grant, 75% grant, up to a maximum of $30,000. New Hampshire DES has a planning level principal forgiveness program up to $75,000 that the town could pursue with, unfortunately, the DES monies require warrant article approval, so it could be something that goes on next spring's warrant article, but essentially 100% principal forgiveness at the end of the execution of that work. So strategically, we wanted to identify Phase 1, let's take action now. Phase 2, maybe we wait till we can get some, or assist the town to get those monies and pay for that entire phase. From the actual fee standpoint itself, our Phase 1 work included 2 site meetings. Talking with Dale, we could probably accomplish that with one long day. So we could probably save $1,000 to $1,500 from the Phase 1 work. The facility plan itself, a lot of times what we've experienced as engineers is there's oftentimes a value added cost to having the architects, structural engineers, electrical engineers, and a few of our other in-house disciplines come on site as part of that facility planning process. As a means of cost savings, we could take our regular project engineers assigned to this project, they can obtain additional information about the treatment facility and pass that back to those other disciplines, and they can do a desktop analysis. So from the Phase 2 work, we can likely knock off about $4,000 to $6,000. So an overall cost savings, if the town were to entertain this, a reduction of about $5,500 to $7,500. Dale and I kind of talked through the actual detailed scope of work. We both talked about some minor edits to that, but the actual scope wouldn't affect the price. It would just kind of working out the nuts and bolts of some of the backup. So.
Okay. Yeah, I kind of would want to make sure of that, because the wastewater, is self-funding, but we have to, as selectmen, we have to, kind of overlook the expenditures and what goes on down there, because that's our job. So just that 13,000 was, because your second bid was right in line with the other bidders.
Mm-hmm.
It was just the 13.2 that was.
Yeah, and
So-
I don't know the exact scope of work for what they had for the existing liner assessment or response to the New Hampshire DES letter, but we saw this as the immediate action need.
Yep.
Something that, this is the reason we're all here, because you got an enforcement letter from
Right.
New Hampshire DES.
No, and I
so,
totally agree.
the information, what would come out of that Phase 1 work would be not only a detailed action plan, but a plan that identified exactly what parts of the liner were deficient, and a potential capital cost estimate, a cost estimate for repairs to the liner, whether it, can we repair it in place, or is it something more defective where the entire liner needs to be replaced?
Mm-hmm.
So these don't really include the costs of any of the actual upgrades. Are these just like reviews and plans? And
That's
then there's
correct.
the next, based off of that analysis, then we're gonna come back and talk about how much it's gonna cost to actually do something about it?
The results of the facility plan will identify long-term solutions for your wastewater treatment facility, whether it's sustainable to use the existing facility as is with modifications or complete replacement. And those will include capital cost estimates.
So you think a fair assessment, you know, between 55 and 7,500, you could take off the 13,000?
No, overall.
Overall, 5,500 to 75. So I propose about 1,000 to 1,500 off of phase one, that 13.2,
Mm-hmm.
and then 4,000 to 6,000 off of the facility plan work.
Oh, okay, yep.
So you're
Alright.
looking 63 to 60, 61 to 63,000. Somewhere around that.
Okay. Do you have anything, Matt?
Nope.
Okay. Dale, do you have anything?
No, Mike and I met, 5 o'clock, we went through some stuff, and,
Mhm.
basically, you know, we went over you don't have this right here, but this is all the detail, the scope of work that we're looking at, so if you do hire them, then we can get a jump on everything, and we can get going on, all the stuff that's on this list here. The reason we have to do all the studies up front, and that's just, well, it makes sense, because you wanna know what you're getting yourself into, but you also have to have these studies, facility plans done in order to participate in the funding from rural development, New Hampshire DES, what are other mechanisms there are out there for the future, so that's, you know, we have to have this basis to
Sure.
go on, so it's,
Okay.
from a
I just didn't
practical
know if-
standpoint, it really makes sense too, you wanna see what
Right.
your, where you're at today, and, you know, is the facility, you know, worth keeping, is it something we gotta move on from, that sort of thing, so, that's where this whole planning document's gonna come into play, so.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, are you guys fine with this?
Yeah, I'm fine with it.
Yeah, I thank you for reducing that. That's very helpful. If we can combine that meeting and, you know,
Mhm.
lower some of that makes it,
Sure.
make it a better,
Yeah.
proposal for us, I think.
So are you fine with this new proposal from Wright Pierce?
Yes.
Okay.
So is there a firm dollar amount, or do you still have ranges for reduction?
It's still pretty much a range, is what I'm hearing anyways. But 61 to 63,000 overall.
Is that what you guys?
Do, I mean, it's kind of the middle of the road, 62.5.
Okay, so that is gonna be a reduction, just real quick so people know. And 62.5, so. So it's gonna be a reduction of $6,500. Is that right, Dave?
I think you said
It's
$63.
$6,300.
So it's 60, okay. I was just doing my math real quick. I was trying to get another couple $100, or was I giving them 200? I was giving them 200. So a reduction of 6,300, so it brings, the total between phase one and phase two down, to 62.5 total between those two.
Right.
Okay. Alright, so you guys fine with that?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, so, you need a motion to accept this? Okay, so I'll make a motion to, accept Pierce Wright's, proposal, 62.5, for the wastewater surge treatment plant,
Facility plan,
semi-plan, yeah, that,
facility plan,
yep, that works. Do I have a second?
Yeah, I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Andy
Aye.
Ross and I.
Aye, Claudine Burnham.
Okay, there you go. Okay,
all right.
thank you so much for
Yeah.
coming back and working with us.
Look forward
And,
to it.
I look forward to coming down and,
They'll
check.
draft up the contracts and whatnot, give them to Ernie, and then get them signed, and then we'll keep going, okay?
okay,
That's
All
great.
right.
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you, Ernie.
Dale, you gonna do your, wastewater budget presentation tonight?
No, you didn't tell me.
Oh, all right. Well, I have the whole slideshow and everything, the budget.
No, I didn't,
Oh,
nobody said anything.
I
So,
thought you did. That's all.
okay, yeah,
So I can just, they've got the figures now.
okay.
alright, have a good night.
Just approve everything, you'll be all right.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks.
What I need to do, move forward, push me up.
Wait. Lean, are you ready?
Yeah, no, I'm ready.
Ready?
I'm gonna skip over, the chart, to go over the numbers. It shows the changes. By the way, I have to thank Julius from the land use department who did my PDF for me, he did a great job. Not my PDF, my PowerPoint. Okay, so my first line of my budget is part-time salary. And the 2020, default number was 39,637. This year's proposal is 43,202. The increase is from the Board of Selectmen wage adjustment that was done. Just wanted to note for the record that in the last 8 years, the office has seen 9 part-time employees. And for the last 5 years, 4 to 5 years, I've come before you requesting a full-time position. I did not do it in this budget this year. On salary elected, the 2020 default number was 51,564. The 2021 proposed budget, 55,370. That is an increase from the Board of Selectmen wage adjustment. This position is not paid overtime, and on a good week, the clerk works 40 hours a week. However, the average has been 50 to 60 hours since May. If I'm going too fast, let me know.
No, I'm fine.
The FICA is a result of the wage adjustments that were done, so the 2020 budget was 5,655. The proposed budget for 2021 is 6,112. And then Medicare is gonna be the same. 2020 was 1,323, the 21 proposed budget, 1,430. The training is remaining the same from last year, $500. It is for the town clerk and tax collector spring workshops and annual conferences. This $500 does not cover staff to attend any training or recertification for a town clerk and tax collector. The registry of deeds line, the 2020 default budget was 700. The proposed budget for 2021 remains at 700. This line is used for recording liens, lien redemptions, and tax deeds. Legal notices and ads in 2020, the default budget was 150.
We did last year request that to be increased, but we left it the same for the proposed 2021, at 150. It actually costs more than that to do our job notice. On the professional services, the 2020 default budget was 11,270. The proposed 2021 proposed budget is 9,490. That's a decrease of 1,780. And that's because we're not budgeting for the multiple elections that we had last year. In 2021, we will only have one town budget, and then we always budget for an emergency one just in case.
Mm-hmm.
If we'd not been in a default budget, it would have been a larger decrease, because we would have asked for more money last year. So, under the professional services, that includes the Avatar program, which is for our taxes, Interware, which does our dogs, online services, credit card services, and then of course we have the 2 LHS ballot machine codings of $3,500. That's for the 2 elections. And then Sanders searches, she does our lien and deed researches before we do our liens and deeds. And then the town clerk tax collector PO box is $150, the notary $75, and then the background checks for a new employee is $100. On the printing and copies, we left it at $1. We haven't had to use it yet. This does allow, this line, the reason that we leave it in there is in case you get a clerk that would prefer to have the automotive red books. We have some online services that we can use for free, and it's worked for us for the last 8 years, so I didn't feel it was necessary to budget anything in there. Under supplies, your 2020 budget was $2,500. We're proposing that same amount for this year. It covers our tax bills that we have to buy, that's the 3-part perforated forms, the dog tags that we issue to people, we pay $350 for. It includes our printer cartridges, our printer drums, our envelopes, our labels, our file folders, binders, storage boxes, business cards, everything that we need for our office supplies. Under postage, in 2020, the default budget was $7,100, and we're proposing that same number. I think that if you look at the expenditure report for this year, we have gone over that amount, but that is because of COVID. I mean, we were mailing out plates and everything and anything during that time that the building was closed. We were still working, doing things with the drop box and the mail system. So the postage covers the absentee ballots, which of course this year we're gonna have a high amount. I think we're close to 400 requests between the 2 elections right now. So absentee ballots, motor vehicle renewal notices, the work that we have to send to the DMV daily, all our online services, which includes the dogs, motor vehicles, vital records, beach passes, boat passes, transfer station decals, includes dog letters for when we receive information from the veterinarians that there's a new dog in town, we have to send out a letter. It covers the postage for mailing out the tax and sewer bills twice a year. The delinquent tax notices we send out once a year, the certified impending liens, the certified mortgage lien notices, the certified impending deed notices, and then for the registry of deeds, the lien that we send in, and then the lien redemptions that we're required to do monthly. Under equipment maintenance, we have $250. That is being proposed to be increased this year by $50. We were notified by LHS, who has the contract with the state of New Hampshire to do our coding, that our maintenance on the machines is gonna go up $50. Under equipment purchases, we had $2,000 in the default budget. We are dropping that down to $1,000. And the reason for that was we had originally always had a printer in there, and we are now gonna use the technology fund in order to replace the printer should something happen to it. So the only thing that's in that line right now is to replace the safe. Under our mileage and travel, the 2020 default budget was $250. We're proposing the same amount. This is only if the town vehicle is not available and we have someone on staff that needs to go to training conferences. It also leaves it open so that, the town clerk could actually charge mileage to go to the post office if the town vehicle's not available. I don't think we've done that in years. The membership dues is $40 for the default budget, $40 again this year. I've not heard word from, either of the associations that those dues are gonna change. And then under miscellaneous, we have $1 budgeted, and that was the same as we had for the default. That's just an open line, should something happen with petty cash. So, Julie's did some beautiful graphs for me. Of course, with my glasses, I can't even read some of the small print, but I'm sure you guys can see it. There is a slide that's coming up that is and I want you to understand what's going on in the office. So there are estimated hours of work versus how much staff hours that we have, and we don't have enough staffing. And this slide will show you the breakdown of it. So in 2018, the total part-time help that we had actually working were 2,063 hours, but we actually had over $3,500 hours worth of work. So if you look at the 2019, that has increased again, and our hours for part-time have decreased. So even though it's not in my budget, I do want you to keep it in your mind of what we would have proposed for 3 part-time employees versus 1 full-time and 1 part-time. What you see in yellow is just like last year's, it's what we would have recommended. You really need to think about, I don't know what the word is that I want to use, but sustaining an employee. And part-timers are here just, it's a second job, sometimes it's just to keep them busy. You need to have someone who's invested in the office. Oops, I'm gonna go back to that one. So I also, that slide that I showed you for the work hours, so that's the best information I can provide for you as far as what I can give you for numbers. But these hours don't include the phone calls, which we average about 50 a day, emails with residents, new residents coming into town, all the explaining that we do to them what they need to do. We deal with real estate agents on the phone, we deal with title companies, tax service companies, dealerships, lien holders, boards and committee members, and then just the everyday person who's just coming into the office. Our database updates have not been done since March. So we're way behind as far as updating mailing addresses, rabies information from the local vets. It doesn't, the hours that are listed on that sheet don't include the preparation of the election ballots, the testing the ballots, the certifying the ballot counts, the postings, the new voter registrations, the filing for town and state positions, the preparation of tax and sewer bills, the tax lien redemptions, the tax abatements, the supplemental tax bills that come all throughout the year, dealing with foreclosures and bankruptcies, responding to the bankruptcy courts, maintaining town records regarding the minutes, the vital statistics, the town deeds, the writs, the petitions, and any other documents in need of safekeeping or of historical value, assisting genealogists when they come in and they want to see vital records that we store downstairs. These times don't include the 2 audits that we have. Not only do we do a town audit, we also have to do a state audit with the DMV. It doesn't include the time that it takes to do the annual reports, the daily, the weekly, the monthly, the quarterly, and all the annual reports that are done in our office. It doesn't include ordering those office supplies. It doesn't include the budget preparations. It doesn't include maintaining inventory of license plates, decals, state forms. And lastly, the time that it takes to train a new employee in-house, which we have done more times than I care to remember. Each time a new employee comes in, it takes us at least twice the amount of time it would normally take to do a renewal registration. We have to sit with them. We have to help them figure out what it is with the next step that they have to do. We can't just leave them alone, hire someone and just leave them alone in the building. My goal was to create the longevity in this office. It can take up to an entire year for someone to completely be trained in the office of the day-to-day operations. The amount of time spent training a new person every year is not cost effective. It is a need that we have to have a full-time person in that office to know exactly what needs to be done every day, every week, every month, and annually. A floated position would allow the staff to attend necessary training, which I can tell you, we haven't been able to do that. My staff hasn't been trained the way they should be trained. And it would also provide for coverage of vacations and sickness. This will also ensure that should something happen to the town clerk tax collector, that there is someone to take over until the clerk returns. So even though it's not in my budget, I do want you to understand, had this been a different year, you would have seen it in my budget. I want you to understand why there is a need for it. Because you will not see me running for this position again. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you have any questions for me?
No, we'll take this under advisement, and I appreciate your explaining everything to us.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, so up next is gonna be Ernie. All right, so up next is Kathy Wallensford. She's in the assessing department. Okay, go ahead, Kathy.
The first line item is going to be the salary, and it's currently at, 41,917. It is proposing for 2021 the 49,920. That is, the changes were implemented by the Board of Selectmen for 2018 and 2019 with the decisions they had made about some of the salaries. Social Security, this is the amount that would be calculated on Social Security, which is mandated, as well as the Medicare. This is for training. I have reduced it down to $100 rather than leave it at $150, but I want to leave it at the $100. I never have the time to leave the building for training. I am looking to a possibility of retiring next year, and I honestly want to leave some in there because we're going to have to train somebody. There's a lot to the assessing job. I think, as you all know, I do a lot of things besides just assessing, payroll, and I could go on, but I do cover a lot of
You wear
things.
many hats, Kathy.
Yeah, I know.
We all know,
So,
and we appreciate it.
But I do wanna leave something in there, cause I'm not sure exactly when next year, but, it is a consideration, and
Mhm.
I want you well aware of it, so that we have plenty of time, because if it was just one position that I'm covering, but it's several, so I want everything to be perfect for the town. I enjoy working at this town and I have a lot of respect for it.
Thank you.
The registry of deeds, there's a lot of things that go into that. That is for recording of current use, it's a recording of any documents that we have to put down there. When we tax deed property and the resident comes in and wants to buy the property back, which he can under the prescribed law, we have to do new deeds, we have to record them. I also get copies of all transfers that take place through the year that come up from the registry. Looking up, if I have to look up because there's questions regarding plans, surveys, subdivisions, or anything, and research that we do on our own properties that the town has owned. Sometimes we have to go back into the early 1900s.
Mm-hmm.
So when we get copies of that type, it does start costing us money. I'm hoping that next year, we can tell by the end of the year by the cost at 2021, it might be able to be reduced even more. Because I do think that they're running more efficiently and everything else. This is legal notices. There's very little that I have to put in the paper now for legal notices. I did put $25 in there. Today we can use we have our websites, and we have the different sites out there to put any public notices. The only time that would come into play if it is mandated that it has to be put into a local paper or something like that for legal reasons. The software is for I have my records online, I have the maps online. They also, every year, they have to update the program itself in Avatar, because there's changes every year, and every year that the state makes a change with the MS1 forms or any forms that we use for veterans exemptions, anything, they have to go in and make adjustments to their programs, and they own the programs and we have them. So that is what we're charged yearly, as well as the update of our records that are online for the assessing cards and the maps. I mean, they don't just stay there. We have to update them. We can update them, monthly or quarterly, or whenever we can get everything into the flow of it and have time.
Mm-hmm.
So that's been a godsend. The assessing contract, of course, that is for the cycle work that's gonna be done by the contracted assessors, Avatar, that we have contract with for this year. And I have spoke with them. They have not given me a draft contract at this time, but I was told that the 40,000 we would be fine. It was based on what we had also for last year. So that is strictly for the cycle work. Prior to that, of course, we had in 19, it was twice that amount of money, because that's when the revaluation took place.
Mm-hmm.
That is separate from the cycle, okay? Assessing printing. I have very little printing that is done anymore. We do most of it created ourselves in-house. The only thing at this time I could possibly think of that may need to be purchased from a printing standpoint would be business cards. So that's what the $25 in there. I know the last time, they were quite expensive at one time. The last time I bought them, we got them in around the $25, might be a little less even. People are getting very creative out there. The assessing supplies, I left it at $400. The supplies is for my mailing envelopes. It is also, my biggest cost is my ink for my printers. I actually have 2 computers that run over there. One of them we call it a shared computer, but when the contracted assessors are in here, they use that one. The one that's at my desk, we print a lot of cards out. I can use the big one also, but just one cartridge for my printer at my desk is almost $300. So it's good for like 10,000 copies, but when we're doing cycle work, when we're doing revaluations, I can print out as many as 3,000 cards at one time. So I left that at $400 and there's no change. The postage is for the mailing of the different articles or documents I just talked about, people requesting applications for the exemptions, people that I would mail out for the charitable organizations, the timber, the gravel. Every 5 years, the state has us certify veterans, elderly, blind, current use, and what we have to do, and we try to stagger it, so there's some each year, take one of them, do mailings to them, we actually ask them to come back in and recertify to verify that they qualify. In most cases, the veterans will always qualify unless there's been a law change, but it's still something they ask us to do for addresses. Sometimes a veteran has passed away, we have to get it into the spouse's name. For the elderly exemptions, every year there could be a change in income. That's one of the reasons why we do have them come in with new updated financial information, which we look at. It's not public, we just verify that they do still qualify. So, the current year for 20 was 600, did drop it down to 500. I think we'll be fine with that. Trying to be very, get these as close as we can. The equipment maintenance, I dropped it down to $200 because I will say in most cases today, if something happens to a computer or a printer, it costs you usually more to have somebody come in to try to repair it than it would to replace it. And we do have the technology fund in the CIP now. So I've reduced that down to $1, but I left it there, just to keep the line open for $1. Equipment purchase, I dropped that down to $100 because at this point I can't think of any equipment that I would possibly have to buy. The only thing that would be replaced on my desk if it no longer functioned would be my calculator. I use a calculator on a daily basis for various duties that I use. And you need a good one, you need something you can work with, and so I left $100 in there and I decreased the line by 200. Mileage, I did leave $50 in there because as I explained, I want that to support the training line. If somebody does need to train, or at that point there's somebody here that we can go to classes to train. Membership dues, I dropped it down to $20 last year. The only amount of money that they was charging, I see no changes coming up, was $20, so I reduced that down to $10 also. And the last one is I want to keep the line open for miscellaneous, just so that if there is going to be that occasion where something might come up. And even I understand we have a bottom line budget, so if I do not have a line item that takes care of the item that we're looking at or we need to buy or whatever, we can at least put it in miscellaneous, and then the next year we can create another line item for that type of situation.
Mm-hmm.
So reduce that down to $1. And I do have an increase of 9.52, which the increase basically falls into that salary line.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it.
Okay.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you,
If you have any
Kathy.
questions, I apologize.
Anything?
No.
Guys?
Thank you very
Alright.
much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kathy.
I'll start off with this. It just shows you a sort of a breakdown of where things are categorically. Most of the line, or most of the whole budget for administration is payroll and professional and contract services. And the other there are several other smaller areas of expenditures. Utilities, 7.7%, and those are the three biggest ones. Everything else is below 5%, but there's several components as we go through. You'll see it, and I actually gave you a copy of this, so you can look at that. So my contract that I entered to in May of 2019 with the Board of Selectmen at the time, is a 3-year contract, and each year there was a 3% increase, and so this is the second year. Well, it'll represent the second year from May 15th, 2020 to May 15th of 2021. And then, of course, you've got, oops, I'm sorry. I got going too quickly here, sorry about that. And then salaries, part-time, we just put $1 in that to leave the line open. Salary for elected officials, each board member receives $2,310 annually as a stipend for doing the work that you do. There's a contract phone stipend that I get in addition. I use my cell phone as a phone. That's an annual stipend. And then Social Security, 6.2%. That's just the payroll taxes, Medicare is also payroll tax, 1.45%. Then we have the town, the TA training line. Currently it's $900. I reduced it to $500 for savings of $400. And this is to pay for legal counsel. Oops, I'm sorry, that's the next slide. But that's just annual conferences, Primex and NHMA, as needed when we go. Legal services, current year is $33,500. The proposed year is $34,880. This line increased $1,380. And you started with a new law firm last year, Drummond Woodson, and you weren't really sure how much it was going to cost, and you budgeted for the $33,500. And I expect the use of legal counsel to become less as we work our way through some of these legacy issues that we have discovered as we've gone through. And also in talking with Drummond Woodson, that's their expectation too, unless we continue to have some of these COVID-19 related legal services that expand the budget. But those are actually, at least to this point, have been reimbursable through the CARES Act funding. So we have received some reimbursement for that this year so far. We're getting ready to submit our second reimbursement request by September 15th. The TA contract services, the current year is $80,049. Proposed goes to $87,281 with an increase of $7,200 basically. The services that are listed there: Checkmate Payroll Services, Stonehill Municipal Services, Factory Networks, our auditors, Seacoast Business Machines for our copier. We have American Security Fire Alarm, Northeast Security Alarms, Harris Computer, which is MuniSmart, our financial software. Crystal Rock Water, we've had that for years. Civic Plus, this will be I believe this is the third year of a $12,000 contract. I might be wrong, this might be the second year, but I believe it's the third. Then we have Office 365 subscriptions for the town hall folks here. That's $1,860 a year. And then as another part of my contract is to maintain a LinkedIn membership, which is approximately $700 per year. Any questions on that? Legal notices and ads, we left that at $900. This pays for legal notices for public hearings, for ordinance amendments, public notices, for sale of tax deeded properties, town meeting related notices and so forth. For professional services, currently it's $13,805, and we proposed to drop that down to $64.75. This line would cover background checks for new hires, the amount of $225. Seacoast Ready Care is the testing that we use, and for drug tests and that things of that nature. There's a budget in there for recording secretary, 30 meetings, $75 per meeting. That's $2,250. And I did just, for anybody who's listening, I'll put out an ad, HMA for recording secretary to cover both the select board and the budget committee, and that should be on the website at this point. I sent that out today. And then we have a miscellaneous in there, $3,500, just in case you run into some of those odd things that you can run into during the course of the year. Street lighting, that hasn't been maxed out, and it's been under $17,000 for the past few years, so reduced that by 1,000, and that was just based on what the usage has been. The water bill, you got $1 in there, and I don't know, you don't pay water, I guess, here, which is unless Public Works does it. I don't know if they have a budget to pay for
They
the
do.
water. Okay, so
Yep.
that's why it's that way. And then you have the telephone internet charges that currently is $54.38. We proposed $5,200 with a decrease of $238. Space for Atlantic Broadband for internet access, and First Light for phone service. The police department and administration both had new phone systems installed, and we'll be requesting proposals for interconnection of the building via a SIP truck, which is basically fiber, if it even exists. Right now, I've been talking with a couple of vendors, and I have to actually get an RFP out for that to see if it's possible to do that. But the goal is to connect town hall, police, and fire so that we're able to communicate easier, and especially during emergency. Most importantly, though, it would be to get to have PD and fire department connected, and I think getting DPW connected as well, because those are the folks that do most of the work during emergencies. But that's something we're working on now. Printing and copies, left that the same. That's for the annual report and voter's guide, envelopes, mailing labels, business cards, a whole litany of things that Michelle named off and Kathy named off. So, supplies, the same thing. We actually reduced that by $500 this year, just because we haven't used it historically all the way, and we're just trying to. The goal, as we've all talked about, is to try to get the budget, below the default budget, so that we can get something passed and we can start rebuilding as a town, both trust and budget wise. So that's why we've all been trying to shave as much as we can. Let's see, postage, we left it the same, $2,064. And vehicle fuel, we did have an increase in use this year, building inspection activity. He's the one who primarily uses that vehicle. We do have, other people will use it every once in a while. Like Kathy, I haven't really had a chance to go out and do much this year. Like last year, I did go to a couple of conferences, but most of that activity has been increased with Brian's building inspections and so forth. So we did propose an increase there. Vehicle maintenance, we didn't change it. Since 2015, the actual expended has ranged from $137 to $625, but the vehicle is getting older, and it does make sense that it could require more maintenance. Let's see, in 2018, the budget was increased from $500 to $1,000. Vehicle registration, like, we could probably fold that right into the other line, with that $12.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have, equipment purchase, we did, decrease that by, $400. And, you see, I think the most that's been spent out of there in a while was back in 2016, where a total of $1,793 was spent out of it. A lot of the equipment, if we have to do computer replacements, you can go to the, Town Hall Technology Fund. So, we've left that, I have left the budget in there, but we did decrease it to $19 from 2021. And then the equipment lease, Town Hall copier, lease is about $44 per year, taking into account overages and paper use and color printing, and, there's copier insurance is $16 per month. Then the postage meter is leased, through Pick and Goes for about $375. Now, just, I wanna back up a little bit here on some of these contract prices. On a lot of them, in fact, not all of them have been updated for next year yet. I mean, some of them have, but we still will be getting, updates, on some of these things, as we go along, so they could change a little bit. I don't expect them to be, huge increases. Mileage and travel, reduced that by $250, down to $500 from $750. Membership dues, decreased that by $105. We have New Hampshire Municipal Association dues of $39.53, and then we have Staples Advantage Business Program for $200, and then we should try to use the acronym for this: New Hampshire Public Employer Human Resources Administrator. That's $30 per year. Then employee functions, we have had an employee get together down at the pavilion, and that's reserved for employee appreciation activity. Not a lot, we just left it the same. And then bank charges, $60. I bounce checks, I suppose. I mean, I'm not actually sure why we would have that in ours, because I think Michelle deals with most of those. We did leave it there because it was a small amount. The miscellaneous, left it at $625. That's listed. There are funeral flowers, employees, relatives, or others. And let's see, we had 5 per year, $75. Refreshments for joint meetings. You didn't get any at the last one you had with the all boards meeting, but there's $100 in there for that. Plaques and certificates and so forth for board members. They're 2 per year for $150. Let's see, so the total administration budget is down $263, or 0.09%. And in this case, it's less than both last year's appropriation and the 2021 projected default budget. That is administration, and we've already heard package assessing. There are some, let's see, we're gonna head down to, the insurance one. So with, now you got your packet, too, and there are some others over there, too. So, the insurance is here. The only thing that I touched at this point, I did increase the amount. I used a 5% escalator in there just to cover it, so we haven't gotten that pricing yet. You probably won't get that until, mid to late November. But what I did do is I took out one full-time position from DPW, just because I think, you know, from the talk of, that's taken place, that is definitely gonna happen. Of course, you need to, I can't really do much of anything until you make some decisions on what you wanna do with staffing overall, if anything, is going to change, because at that point, when I know, I can then make adjustments. But the insurance, for the health insurance, it contains in there, the health insurance for one, two person and families. It's got some, you've got dental broken out separately. And then there's also within the health insurance line, there's a buyout amount. And I think that amount was about $3,200 per year. It was an amount that was decided upon a few years ago, and it was a fixed amount that people, you give people as an incentive not to take the town insurance, because obviously $3,200 a year is a lot less than, you know, $13,000 for a single, or $25,000 or $35,000, you know, they get really expensive, so. But with this, you know, it's kind of in limbo at this point, just until some decisions are made, so I just wanted to kind of go over that. So we have a bunch of miscellaneous budgets at this point that I didn't go down through here. I mean, you have this sheet here, we can go down and you can ask me any questions about it. The next one after, page 2 is, the treasurer's, budget, and that is up by $29. Let's see, that, oh, I'm sorry, it's up, yeah, $29, let's see, 24 in Social Security and 5 in Medicare, and that must have been miscalculated last year. That's the only reason I can see that would change, because the amount, up there is the same amount in terms of pay, so. Then you have supervisors of the checklist. This was one that Karen presented to you. I don't need to present it again. The moderator's budget, has remained the same. I, will reach out to Chris again just to make sure. Budget committee, Chairman Williams, sent me the budget, and this is reflected here. They're down $165, and their total budget, proposed is $2435. Trustees of the trust funds, they didn't change at all. They're at, $3,290. And, let's see, the next one that hasn't been covered. So we have, the cemetery budget is on page 6. There was a $10,000 item in there, and Karen talked a little bit about, I'm sorry, this was at a different meeting, but, as I understand that amount, it's actually an amount that's, can be used, but it's, reimbursable to the town through the trustees. So, it could be $10,000, it could be $1, it doesn't really, make much difference from that standpoint. You just need to be able to have the ability to meet those transactions. So planning and codes is on page 9, and with that one, you have a $1,587 increase from the 2020 budget, and that is mostly in wages. And we have a hired, as you have heard a little bit about, Julius. He's been here now a little bit over a month, and he's doing a great job for people. And, he's very flexible in what he's able to do, so it's great. The planning board, budget, ZBA, conservation, none of those, have changed. And again, I'll reach out to people again in case there is, but, I haven't received anything else on that. So page 13, outside appropriations. That one was one where, we had a request, last year that was from the Revolution Food Pantry for $5,000. I put that in there. And I think there was a new request last year from American Red Cross, and, if you want me to reach out to those folks again, you can certainly do that, just to make sure we have everybody in there that helps out. I know let's see, I did get a letter from DNA a couple of days ago. I haven't had a chance to look at it in detail, but it looks like there's that there might be an increase there, but I'll come back with you on that.
What is what's the difference between Wakefield Resource Center and the food pantry in Wakefield? Do we have any idea?
Well, the resource center is where the elderly go to have luncheons and do whatever they do at the resource center. And then, of course, the pantry is
Food
something
pantry.
all different,
Mhm.
something different. But I know that's what the resource center is. They go to have lunch and whatever.
So the next one, the budget is welfare, and I've talked to some people about possibility of contracting out. So there are a couple of potential opportunities to look at. I don't know, I've got to reach back out to the town administrator over in Farmington. He was going to talk to his board about possibly sharing theirs. They have a full-time welfare director there. I also talked with the director in Rochester, Todd Marsh, who recommended the name of a gentleman who's doing it for a couple of other towns. He's done it for years, working for different towns, but generally, the contracted service would be $20 an hour. So that's what I had budgeted for, and I did. I believe it was 5 hours a week at that. But so I put the contract services amount in there for, in the amount of $6,500. Just give me just a second. Yeah, that's a little over about six hours a week or so. And I didn't change anything else, and so that budget has gone down by $13,400. This year it had about 9 applications, and there've been awards on, I believe, 3 out of those, possibly 4. Hasn't been a great deal on, I'm gonna talk about specifics here because I can't, but there hasn't been a lot of activity. Don't know if it'll change or not. People were expecting it to change once the COVID restrictions were lifted, but I haven't seen a lot. I haven't gotten a lot. So that's
In terms of people coming in for assistance?
right, or getting calls, or the ones that I have gone out and done some, I've had to go out and do some physical visits to places to confirm whether somebody did or did not, live there, and so, it takes a little bit of time on some of these, but we haven't had much activity with it. And I just want to give it a little bit of time and see what happens over the next 3 months or so, but that's pretty much what it looks like right now. In fact, on your expenditure report, if you look at it, you'll see how much has been spent on it, so.
Mm-hmm.
And then economic development, went back and forth. I did talk with Chairman Woods on Economic Development Committee, and he said, do what you think you should, and it's one of those things where everybody's been in a standstill. This year, the budget overall is $2,500. It's down $996. I just did a little bit of rearranging, but again, that's one of those things, if you want to keep it up at $2,500, that's completely up to you. The debt service and principal, those amounts, are amounts that are in the debt payment schedule that you have, so those have been updated. And now, unfortunately, my page break on the bottom of this, if you look at your page 17, you see up at the top, it says less than 2020 buy and then more than 2021 default buy. So that's, the budget. The $17,181 is the cut from the 2020 budget. And after all was said and done, and of course haven't made the adjustments yet to health insurance or anything, right now we're still about $33,000 over the projected 2021 default budget. So what goes on the ballot is the budget committee's recommended budget, and the second one is the default budget. And the goal, the stated goal from both has been to get the budget below the default budget, because you want to get the taxpayers to pass a budget so that, again, we can start moving forward and rebuilding. So that's where we are at this point. That other information down there is an example of how the tax cap works. Now, there's been some confusion about that, about how that actually works and what it means. The tax cap, as it was passed, said that you can't raise your taxes that are going to be collected by more than 2%, or by the Northeast Consumer Price Index, whichever is less. Now, one of the difficulties that came up was that with the petition warrant article, it said from January to January of the previous year for the CPI. Now, with the budget process, you would already be in the hearing process for the budget before you would get the January CPI numbers, because they would be out in February. So, and knowing that this was going to pose a difficulty, I talked to the town council about it a couple of months ago, and the concurrence there was that, the warrant article has an issue as far as that's concerned, but the intention behind it's clear. It's either 2% or, and they didn't see that as being a fatal flaw, whereas there is a little bit of staff disagreement here. We had staff meeting the other day and talked about that, but I talked with them a little bit today again, and again they stand firm on that. And what their proposal to the town is to pick the month where you can most responsibly say, okay, we can meet the intent of this article, and get the budget done and know where you're going with it. So the decision to make is knowing that it's a 1 month lag, or at least a couple of week lag for it. If you want to know that number in October, then you say, well, we're going to use September to September, but we're also going to propose an amendment to the warrant article next year so we don't run into this again. Or you use October to October, or November to November, you're into December before you know it. I think that's, I think you want to have it a little bit earlier than that. So that's their advice. And I mean, there's some, again, disagreement at the staff level, but from the legal firm
Well,
standpoint.
we sort of
that's
have to listen
the
to our, legal because they're the ones that are gonna represent us. You know?
Well, and also what that would mean, the CPI from June to June was 0.8. From July to July was 1.1. I'm maybe behind 1 month, but I don't think so, I think that's right. So, I don't think that the consumer price index, just because of the muted economic, activity that COVID-19 has created, I mean, that knocked the CPI, it's normally around 2.3%. But it's went all the way down to 0.8. It's up to 1.1 now. I don't know where it'll go, but I mean, it's, if it hits 2% again, I think we, be lucky or unlucky or however you want to consider that, because it's the lower of the two that the town needs to do. And I guess the last thing I'd want to see is that, to have the town appear like it's not really paying attention to what the voters did vote on, and that's why I think that discussion took place, with legal, and I think that's where they're coming from. So, that's it. You pick the period you use. You do the best you can with it. What their advice is that judge will look favorably on the town for doing that if anybody objected to it. So that's the advice. But anyway, after saying all that, if you take a look at that, using the projections that we have, and again, we can't really figure this until we set the tax rate, because those numbers are the ones that we have to use. But in using the projections here, it looked like the maximum amount of taxes that could be raised as an estimate would be $3,272,899. And the way you get that is what that calculation shows. It takes the total town appropriation less the estimated revenues, and with those, I'm sorry, let me go back. The total appropriation, I think I back in war service credits and overlay, because that's something that's covered with taxpayers. It's redistributed among the other taxpayers, and that gives you the total amount of 4.6 million. And then you subtract out all of the revenues, and the reason I did it this way, our estimated revenues for 2020 were 1.4 million. The voted unfunded unassigned fund balance was 60,000. All those warrant articles that, well, the few that they passed were $60,000 worth. And then I just tried to leave it the same as what you did last year. You used $225,000 to set the tax rate last year. So what the statute says is that you can add back in whatever fund balance you used to pay down the commitment for raised taxes, because you're actually using tax money to pay those, so they recognize that. So you add that back in. That was $285,000. And that gave 3.2 million, well, 3.23, and then I applied a tax cap. I used 1.1%, because that was the most recent Northeast Consumer Price Index amount, and that said you could raise your budget by $35,610, basically, or not raise the budget, but add to the amount that could be raised in taxes. So that's why you got a total of 3.272 million. Seems like a roundabout way to get there, but that's what it is. And all of this, has to be, DRA is going to take a look at it with us, and I haven't been able to get Michelle Clark. She's our representative up there. I get a response from her yet, but that appears to be the way it needs to be done. And then with the wastewater budget, those figures that are in there are what Dale did give to me. So I'm not going to do his presentation for him, because that's his job, but his is up $11,170 for 12.9%. Now, of course, the sewer, those rates are paid by the sewer users. And, so, you know, still don't wanna impact them too much, but that's where he is. And, I'll bring him back in to make a presentation, and maybe he does that, you know, before both of you on that Saturday, you know, before the budget committee.
Yeah, I think that'll
Yeah.
be fine. If he-
I agree.
So right now, we're $33,269, more than the 21 default.
Right, and that's, of course, you know, these are all, at this point, this early in the year, they are, projections, but yeah, it's about that amount.
Okay, so, I mean, I would say that, you know, any of these budgets that have huge increases, whoever they are, they need to revisit it. Because we need to get below that. And if they can't do it, we will. Simple. Because the voters have made it very clear. So we gotta figure it out, but, you know, I don't wanna be the bad guy, but, you know, these people know their budgets better than, you know, what they need. They know what they need better than I do. So I would encourage them to revisit their budgets if they're, you know, if they're increased a lot. Because we need to get below that default budget.
Yeah, so one of the things that I also wanna stress a little bit, is just recognizing where you are. I mean, you've had, more than several default budgets over the past, 10, 12 years. And, you know, last year, you had, what, 5 warrant articles besides, that actually passed that were individual budget warrant articles. Those are the ones for $60,000. And, you know, the road one failed, all the larger amount, items, failed. And, you got the default budget. So, and if you looked at the margin of the votes against, I mean, it's just one of those things where I think you're being told that this is the money that we're willing to give you, you need to learn to work within that. You know, and it just seemed like that stark a message, and I think that's, one of the reasons that, you know, earlier in the year, right after the election, you know, the chair at the time has put out, you know, that, what she talked about in terms of, you know, of having to do something with the budget, because, you know, you keep going year after year and you just keep falling further and further behind. And I think that's why the budget committee, you know, the chair has said, you know, we need to get a budget passed, and I think both boards agreed that it needs, for that to happen, it needs to come in below what the projected default rate is.
No, I agree, and, you know, and then I'm speaking for myself here too, not the board, but I'm sure they probably agree with me, but anyways, you know, some department heads have done a very good job here. And they've all done a great job, don't get me wrong. But, you know, some have made some huge concessions. So, you know, we need to have, you know, everybody else, once again, look at the budgets and figure it out before we figure it out. And, you know, we just need to get below that default budget. It's simple as that. And it's not us. It's not me, it's the voters. You know, I am a voter, but, this is, the town has spoken, and this is what they want. So, you know, we need to all work together and figure it out and get to that number.
Well, I do know that, I think people are looking for a decision from you as a board. You know, what do you want us to do? Where do you want it to come from? And I think, you know, you'll need to get that specific. I mean, you know, you are the ones who you're elected to run the provincial affairs of the town. So you're the ones who are gonna actually make the choices, you know, once the voters vote again, anyway, one way or the other. So, I think that's sort of what I've been hearing.
Mhm. And I wanted to listen to the budgets, you know, for the new board members. You know, I wanted them to hear the budgets, and I think we're right on track. I think we're doing great. We're earlier than we normally are, listening to budgets. We've never listened to budgets at this time of the year. So I think we're doing great. I mean, we're projected to have a meeting with the budget committee. When did you say that was?
Well, the preferred date is the 12th, you know, and to do that, you know, I wanna be able to give them what it is that your cuts are. So I mean, you either make some decisions tonight before you leave, or, you know, we end up delaying it a week. And I do know that there are a couple of people that won't be around on the 19th at this point, but, you know, I don't know. I mean, the thing is, we have to get it done right. So, you know, it's really your call on what you want me to do with the budget committee, what you want me to ask them to do. I mean, I don't think the 12th, unless you make decisions tonight on it, is realistic. But, I mean, I think we could probably do it on the 19th if you chose to meet on Tuesday night, after Labor Day, and then, you know, make those changes. I could get them made on Tuesday and get them out to everybody.
No, I mean, I'm fine. Like I said, we're way ahead of projection here. I mean, you know, on listening to budgets. And I think we've done a great job, and I wanna thank everybody for getting the budgets to us, so that, you know, the new elected officials could hear the budgets and learn the process, 'cause it's, you know, it's a lot to it, and it's a lot to digest and figure out. And it was only fair to them to hear all these budgets. So, I mean, for me, I mean, we could just push it out a week. I mean, 'cause we just heard all these budgets tonight, so let us all go home, digest it, figure out, you know, if there's some cuts that can be made, and there is, and then we'll come back. So you're looking at the Tuesday after Labor Day?
That's elections.
Oh, that's elections. Yeah.
So can we meet on that Wednesday, or we wait till the following week? Cause that kind of doesn't give a whole lot of time for the budget committee to take a look at it either, if we waited.
I'm sorry, what did you say?
I was wondering if we made it for Wednesday or another, well, I don't know, something else is Wednesday, but, because if we wait another week after next week, that's the week of the 19th, that doesn't give a lot of time for the budget committee to take a look at it either.
Could you do, next Thursday?
I think I can.
Yeah.
Let me just double check.
It's an awful long ways out, but we'll see.
Yeah, no, it's fine with me if Matt can make it. Yeah, that works.
Yep.
And,
The 10th.
the 10th.
And then that way we can make decisions and then be able to get that information out and have that meeting the 19th. For those who can make it.
Yeah, no, definitely, and,
So I'll touch base with Humphrey tomorrow on that, and, so the directive is to back out to the folks who are substantially above default budget and.
Tell everybody to make cuts. I mean, Pat made substantial cuts with his.
Yep.
Everybody else should too. There's no excuse why only one department has to make, or one department with 3 budgets has to make all the cuts and eat it all. Everybody can make cuts.
you know, I agree, I have, you know, he's absolutely right. So, you know, we wanna work together here, we wanna be all part of the solution, not the problem. And again, this isn't us doing this, this is the town. So, you know, like I said, historically, if it doesn't go below the default, and everybody knows it, historically in the past, you know, 10 years, it'll go right to the default budget if it doesn't, if the proposed budget isn't lower, so, and it doesn't do anybody any good having a default budget. The town can't move forward in a prosperous way, and it's not healthy, so, for anybody. So, we'll just all work together and get it done, you know? Unfortunately, it probably won't be easy, but it's just the way it has to be, I guess, you know? Okay, so are you all set, Ernie?
I am.
Any more questions about the budgets? Or does anybody else wanna say anything about the budgets?
Nope. This is what would be going to the committee, is just one whole packet, is that
Right.
correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so, up next, we have a driveway bond on the new business, that has to be released. Yep, so, have a good night.
Thank you.
So we have a driveway bond that needs to be released, so I'll just make a motion to release this driveway bond. I shouldn't probably say any names here, or
You just,
I just wanna make sure that we're not,
just use tax map and lot, right
Okay.
here.
yeah, so I'll make a motion to release this driveway bond, tax map, 16 lot 3. Second,
I'll second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you. So what we'll do is just, here you go, Matt. Thank you. Okay, and up next is old business, to amend the COVID-19 employee travel policy previously adopted. Do you have that, Ernie? Anything on that?
Yes.
Thank you.
So, all right, so well, I'll be honest with you, I got this updated email, so what the, chief had sent to me was something from the Department of Education that showed that there were no return to works for anybody who actually had, contact travel with others, it's one of the higher risk states and so forth, and I don't actually see any difference between these two. The one that you adopted appears to be worded the same way as that one that I just got here. So I'm going to postpone this.
Okay.
Because we have the first one in place, and the one that was adopted we can do, and I'll get it clarified for next meeting.
Okay, that's fine. So up next is approval of the minutes.
So, Mr. Chairman, I do have something that in the melee that was going on here. So here's an actual thing for you to do. You don't have to read all this, but it's just this and the approval. You can you'll give the tax map and lot number and the granted amount here. And that, just clear up the August 3rd. That's the motion that was given by the attorney.
Yep.
And just reading the tax map and lot number and the abatement amounts. And these are just a group one with the listing.
Mm-hmm.
These are, I move we deny the property tax abatements as listed here, and then they're all clear and in one motion.
Okay.
And then you need to formally vote to grant the tax abatements. Now, understanding that these are dollar amounts of the abatements here,
Mm-hmm.
so you have to vote to grant the abatements and any interest due.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. So up first up, I will make a motion to clear up the August 3rd, 2020 non-public meetings. I move that we unseal those minutes, applying any redactions necessary to map lot 000033 000149 000000, and the abatement is $899.99. And the next map lot is 000033 000232 000000, granted $1,802.34. And the last map lot is 000047000038 000000, granted $1,203.92 for the sum, the amount of $3,906.25. That's on that. Okay, here you go, Matt.
So you need a second.
Okay, so that's my motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. So up next, I'll make a motion to move that we deny property tax abatements for the properties as presented by Avatar for the denial at our June 30th, 2020 public meeting as contained in the list before us tonight. And I will sign that. So do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, thank you. So up next, I will make a motion, I move that we grant the property tax abatements for the properties as presented by Avatar at our June 30th, 2020 public meeting for the amounts that were recommended by Avatar plus statutory interests as contained in the list before us tonight. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Let me go on that. Okay, so up next, the approval of the minutes, so 7/13, he has first here. 7/13/2020. Are you guys all set with these minutes?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So I'll make a motion to accept these minutes as written. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And so up next, we have 7/20. Okay. So on 7/20, you guys all set with these minutes?
Mm-hmm.
7:20? 7:30?
7, yeah, actually, you probably meant 7:30 on these. So,
Oh.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's corrected here, so
yeah.
yeah.
So, yeah, the 7:30 minutes, these are when we had the Newt High School cafeteria all boards meeting.
Yes.
So are you guys all set with those minutes?
Yes.
So I'll make a motion to accept these minutes as written.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, Claudine, on that. So, August 24th. So up next is, the remote board selectmen, the meeting on the budget workshop on the August 17th. Are you guys all set with these minutes?
Yep.
So I will make a motion to accept the August 17th, 2020 meeting minutes as written. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. And up next is the August 24th meeting minutes. You guys all set with those?
Mm-hmm.
Are you all set, Claudine?
Hang on.
What was the last one you just approved? Was that the August 17th?
Yes. The August 24th minutes?
Yes.
Okay. I will accept these as written. That's my motion. I'll have a second.
Yeah, I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
And, okay, no, we have August 4th here, we don't have written down here, oh yeah, we do, I'm sorry, August 4th, meeting minutes, that's on, Dale Sprague explaining to the, select board the pricing proposals. Are you guys all set with those minutes?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. I'll make a motion to accept these minutes as written. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you.
And you have one more, August 3rd public minutes.
Yeah. August 3rd. Yeah. And then the two non-publics. August 3rd, meeting minutes. Are you guys all set with these minutes?
Yes.
Okay, I'll make a motion to accept these as written. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. And the last two is, these are non-public, minutes on August 3rd. I will make a motion to unseal these minutes.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And another August 3rd, non-public, I'll make a motion to accept with the redactions as necessary, and we'll unseal these minutes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. So that clear up the minutes. I just gotta sign them all. Okay. Thank you. Okay, and there's your driveway, those are for you. And the abatements.
Thank
Yep. We all signed them? We all set, okay. So up next is public comments pertaining to any of the topics discussed. There's unfortunately no one here, so we'll go to the expenditure report. Are you guys all set with that? With the expenditure report?
Is that it? Do we have it? Okay. Thank you.
I mean, we're looking good here, we're only total.
you. Linear calculation is 67.5% or 68% expended.
Yeah. So, we're in good shape there. Do you have anything you wanna add to the expenditure report, Ernie, or are you all set?
No, I think, everything that we've done tonight covered.
Okay. Anything stick out to you guys?
No.
You all set, Matt?
Yep.
You all set,
Good,
Claudine?
yes,
Okay,
thank
very
you.
good. And, on to the town administrator's comments. Correspondence or any other items?
No, I'm good, I think, we've got everything.
You're all set? Okay. And for selectmen's comments, Claudine, do you have any selectmen's comments?
I do not have any comments right now.
You do not. Okay, very good.
Nope, I'm
No.
good.
Okay. I just have a couple, things. Again, we are voting at the high school next Tuesday. The Newt High School. We'll try to get, the best place to put a sign out is at the transfer station. So if we could get some sort of signage, maybe we could ask Pat, if his guys could put something out, somewhere along the road where everybody's gonna see it. Because I have gotten a few phone calls myself on where the elections are. And, we'll try to put something down at the, where the old election site was at the church that we used. And, so we're gonna, have the elections at the high school from now on. Wanna thank everybody that's involved to make that happen. I think it'll all work out great up there. There's gonna be plenty of room and plenty of parking, and I wanna thank the church for letting us use their building for the past, I don't know how many years that we've been going down there, but, I can't thank them enough. It was very nice for them to let us borrow that church to have our elections. So it's gonna be at the high school once again, so, and this is all out on the website, and it's out there. It's just, it's out on the board out front of the town hall. I'll see if I can get it down at the town beach on their sign tomorrow, to give people heads up onto Karen Brown's, the sign out front of the town beach. And, so we'll get it out there as best we can. The other thing I have is, so they did do a survey in the town hall on employees, what they thought about, us with masks, and the majority of them, all said, please leave the masks, mandated, not recommended. So, 3 people surveyed, 10 being the highest, 3, 9 being the highest, 2, 8 being the highest. 1 member surveyed 3. So, 6, 7, 8 people were 8 and above. And then they asked if we were to just make them a recommendation, would people seek employment elsewhere for a safer work environment? And 1 person said yes, 2 people said yes, 4 said very, very highly likely they would. So, I mean, the bottom line is they feel that the masks are, they feel a lot safer if people were wearing masks. So I just wanted to bring this survey to us in the town. These people do work in here all day, and we want them to feel comfortable while they're at work, and it is our responsibility for their safety. So I think we should just leave it the way it is, and we'll revisit it our next selectmen's meeting.
So for clarification on that, that's also for meetings.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And the last thing I have is just, we're just kicking the can down the road. It's getting later in the season, but the schoolhouse still needs to be roofed. That's the little schoolhouse up by Bowling Road, and it's a town building, and it's currently been tarped, but we need to preserve it, and we have quotes, and we need to, we need to move forward, I would say sooner than later, on getting that roof fixed. Because we definitely wanna get it done before snow flies. I mean, if not, that's a beautiful little schoolhouse, and I hate to see it get ruined, you know, with any more damage from inclement weather. So, the ball's in our court to get that fixed.
I just, sent a reminder out of myself on that, and to Pat on, the schoolhouse roof and the signage, the transfer station, and something for the church, so.
Okay.
For the election day, so.
Thank you. So that's really all I have. That's just something to think about.
Is that schoolhouse, that roof has to be contracted out, or is that something that
Yeah.
we're gonna do?
Pat's gotten 3 bids,
Okay.
and we do have some revenue from our insurance company. So, you know, we just gotta get it fixed. So, other than that, I think I'm all set. All set? Okay.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Okay, I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
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 All right.
Oh, hang on.